Brady, how does the return of the Big Ten, probably more particularly, how does the return of Ohio State and Penn State impact the national playoff picture?
Well, perception is everything. And I think now the perception is if you look at the top 4 teams we're going to play off for a national championship, the rankings do matter. I know, Bruce just talked about how the last ranking is only what matters, obviously. But when you look at the top 25 now, a week or two ago, we only had a couple teams from the ACC. Now we have 7, the same amount as the SEC. Once the Big Ten comes back, that number is going to be cut down because you're going to have more Big Ten teams ranked. You're not going to have 5 Group of 5 teams ranked. So their strength of schedule is going to look different. And so it's going to impact the outcome of how we view the strength of schedule, the road that these teams took to get there, and the perception of all the teams that could be potentially playing for a national championship. But, Rob, as you put it, I mean, it's Ohio State, maybe Penn State, and kind of everyone else in the conference hoping to have a chance to spoil it.
Well, the inequity of scheduling is unprecedented. This could go down in history books. Is what happens if Ohio State is a 6-0 against a team that you're playing in the SEC? And I mean, it's every week you're in a 4 to 5 point game and you're going where you look at the Big Ten, you look at Ohio State's schedule, that to me is all like Clemson. Clemson will be a 3-touchdown favorite, I'm telling you, in almost every game. You're looking at Alabama and LSU. LSU's they have 4 games within a 6-week period against top 11 teams. So I don't know how you do this. If you're the playoff committee, expect the worst, react to the best. What does that mean? Start this, and I'm sure they are. Start this conversation now. So whatever criteria you had before, you better be rethinking about this. Is that fair? You're going to have some teams just blow out all the way through, and then you look at that SEC schedule, unprecedented. The SEC has been built on, let's get to the college football playoff. They're playing FCS teams before a rivalry, et cetera. Now they're playing 10 conference games in that schedule. To me, it's like you've seen there's a complete shift in college football this year. I'm curious to see what those conversations are behind closed doors.
I think the interesting thing when you looked at those protocols is if you test positive 21 days until you return. Think about that. Justin Fields, one of these top players from a top team, they missed 3 games because they test positive. How does that impact a team? Maybe Ohio State wins those 3 games, or maybe they lose a game without, a star player. That's going to be interesting to see. But, yeah, Coach, to your point, and Brady, all of these conferences have to navigate through this. They have to be disciplined, as you've talked about all week. And I just think the committee, it's going to come down to what Bruce said. The 4 best teams are going to make it. And if Ohio State plays 7 games and the SEC plays 10 games, but Ohio State looks like the best team, then they deserve a shot. It's going to be really challenging. I just don't think all these conferences are guaranteed to get through this schedule. We've seen a lot of postponements already. Yeah. It's going to continue to happen all across the board.
And there's no buys for the Big Ten, only 1 buy for the SEC, so that's going to be interesting to see.
That's the biggest thing.
There's no flexibility.
They don't have any flexibility to play around with. Now it's like every week, you got to be on, and every week. I think there's more accountability now than ever on these players, right, to make sure that they're taking care of themselves. But if we're talking about how the Big Ten's return will impact the playoff system, I've always had Ohio State as my number 1. So now you have to make room for the big dogs, right? Now you have to make room for the Ohio States and for the Penn States, which we've been talking about. And I think that this is the year where Ohio State can run the table, right? We've seen their conference schedule now, and now we know what they have in front of them. I think they can run the table, and I think they'll be able to get to the playoff system and get a win. I got a win in it all.
Look closely at Ohio State's schedule. No Iowa, no Minnesota, no Wisconsin.
Yeah.
To me, I mean, that's a Clemson schedule right now, other than obviously you got to go to Penn State without the whiteout.
Right.
Week 2.
Two stats to keep in mind. We've never seen a 2-loss team making the conference football or college football playoff. Keep that in mind. This could be a year where that changes. Yeah. That we've never seen a team win a national championship having to play 9 conference games in the college football playoff era. Obviously, we've got teams playing at least that now, 9, 10 in some cases.
I was just going to say, style points we've talked about maybe come into play for the Big Ten. With no flexibility, no chance at a bye week. If you miss a game, you're not making it back up, Coach. You got to make sure you're going out there and taking care of business week in and week out.
Just real quick about the schedule. Remember, there's adverse effects to that. The young players won't get that. No, all the non-conference games are gone. You are in the Big Ten, so you get a young player. They usually like to ease them in. There's no easing in this year, especially in the Big Ten and the SEC.
Big Noon Kickoff, Saturdays at 11 Eastern on Fox and the Fox Sports app.